Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de why I choose to drink a rather generic Western tea when I am clearly, from the Far East. And isn't there some fancy tea drinking culture from that region of the world that's closer to my cultural identity? Blah, blah, blah. Sure, I'll explain that one. Hey, XenPuck here. Oh yeah, my life is so easy these days that developing a new habit in the form of tea drinking is worth one of my rants, okay? I guess this particular speech is basically a practice run for if one day my dad catches me drinking this English breakfast tea thing, okay? He's been a tea connoisseur for pretty much as long as I've been alive that I know of, right? So I'm guessing there will be some judgment, even if he is too polite to say much. I guess from a Chinese point of view, English breakfast tea is considered a red tea, even though in the West it is referred to as a black tea. I don't know, it looks pretty dark to me, both as leaves in a bag or when brewed. So what exactly is red about it? I don't know, beats me. Okay, I guess that's why I'm not a fancy schmancy Chinese type of tea drinker, right? And yes, this is actually quite a recent development in the past week or so. I think I needed a revised morning routine in anticipation to my wifey being out of town. Usually I get up every morning before her to make her coffee. But since she's about to go on a ladies' trip for a little while, and usually when she's gone, I'm a little depressed as I barely have a reason to get up anymore. I certainly wouldn't make myself the same coffee. That's because that's really more for her, right? So instead, I started this new tea routine running parallel to her coffee machine process, just so that when she's gone this time, I will already have established a new routine to get up to. Yep, these are the minor adjustments to life that I make now that I don't have anyone telling me what to do anymore. Good Lord, all my problems are such first world problems, and I do feel so very lucky about it. Anyway, if you like random rants or just a laugh at my funny mug, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and share, and all that social media buzzwords. Or whatever, really. Do what you like. I'll be great regardless. Yes, indeed. Now on to the dissection of why I'm all in on this English breakfast tea idea. So point number one, it's basically because of availability, right? I can find English breakfast tea pretty much anywhere. Let me be clear, I'm just not a particularly big snob on food and drinks, unlike, say, my dad with his Chinese tea drinking habit, okay? Now, let me be doubly clear. I still reserve the right to mature into a tea snob at a later time. It's just that, well, that's not like my dad ever even tried to interest me in his tea drinking habit in the Chinese method to begin with, right? If you know me, you know that I have quite a bit of a nomadic streak in me, right? Home is where I feel is home, and frankly, anywhere that I've stayed more than a few months can be considered that, okay? It's about the people that I'm surrounded with, not the particular place. So knowing that, it's helpful to not be tied to any particular type of food or drink. That's just my opinion. I'd like to think I'm very highly adaptable, right? And in that sense, the easy availability of English breakfast tea cannot be overstated, right? Whether we like it or not, the Anglosphere is just much larger in the world that we live in currently. Compare that to, let's say, if I did want to become a Chinese tea drinker, like my dad, right? Then I'd be stuck trying to get, relatives or friends that visit the old country to send me fancy packages every year at the very least, right? I don't have the patience or the social network for that right now. So no thank you, not yet. Point number two, right? Like I mentioned, we already have an avid coffee drinker in the household, and frankly, I get enough leftover coffee from wifey. Yep, I said it. I don't mind coffee whatsoever, but I never crave it either, okay? Heck, I think the best use of it, at least for leftover coffee, is simply to be, had with ice cream. That's literally the best. I love it, okay? So right now I make my wifey her coffee every morning, and yet I do not really partake in the drink during the morning. I recall that I get my coffee in the sense of whatever she doesn't finish because I hate waste. So I usually have it like later, or by noon time usually, right? so not the actual morning. So right now, I frankly feel a little bit left out, so I figured why not do my own thing with our kettle that's out and about in the kitchen counter anyway. Plus, the time it takes to brew coffee and tea is similar enough that I can have my hot drink with my lovely wifey at the same time. I mean, I'll still drink her leftover coffee because that's really just the right amount of coffee for me anyway, right? But now that I've added a brand new element in tea that she won't fight me for, right? And if it's English breakfast tea, I can even use the same additions that we already have, like half and half, or milk or sugar, as people do with coffee. So boom, problem solved. 2 birds, 1 stone. I am a genius, clearly. Now, point number 3, the actual real specific reasons as to why I drink or I enjoy English breakfast tea is, well, a place and a people association, right? Strangely, I first got into this at a fancy hotel breakfast. I think it was a Sheraton when I was traveling to Sydney, Australia for work, right? Maybe it's because that was the first time I flew business class on the company's dime. Maybe it's because the breakfast foods on offer in this particular hotel was a strange mixture of East and West in the best possible way from my point of view, right? By the time I got to pick a drink, and English breakfast tea was front and center, heavily featured, I went with that, right? And the rest was history. I mean, I've always considered tea a milder form or alternative to coffee, and this tea specifically with some milk and sugar just felt very comforting to me, right? It was nothing spectacular, but comforting, like a home away from home, right? This singular memory always rushes back to me whenever I drink this particular type of tea. And I think it stood in for a basically like a specific snapshot in time, right? Because I really wanted to, this is before I really wanted to get out of the corporate world, right? As it's a memory of a simpler time, you know, when the peripherals and the tangential elements of corporate grind still seemed, well, more than just tolerable, but actually good. I mean, while I know that's more or less a mirage now, having such a memory also reminds me of how I'm capable of change and evolution in mindsets. So yes, still overall a very good feeling. Okay. So will this new routine outlast the circumstances of its birth, aka my wifey's sojourn away from me? Beats me. But I bought a 50-pack of English breakfast tea. Yes, a 50-pack, not a 100-pack, as I thought maybe committing to 3 whole months of tea drinking right off the bat is a bit, well, batty. So we shall see if the experiment turns into a real habit. Okay, who knows? Maybe English breakfast tea will be my gateway tea, right? And someday when my folks comes to visit, I can wow them with my new extensive global knowledge of teas. Wouldn't that be the day? Oh boy, I'm having a lot of fun just trying to imagine the surprise on my dad's face. After all, apparently this is what this retiree does these days, daydreams. Cheers, a la prochaine.